in Jeremiah chapter 6. But first, I have another little side thing here. And this is really neat, what this was. Okay. And it's an unknown author, so we don't know who originally wrote it. Okay, there was a moment when Moses had the nerve to ask God what his name is. God was gracious enough to answer, and the name he gave is recorded in the original Hebrew. I guess, Paul Allen would probably know this. The original Hebrew would have been spelled YHWH. Those letters in original Hebrew. Okay, YHWH. Well, of course we got Yahweh. English writers arbitrarily, I guess, added an A and an E to get Yahweh. Presumably because we have a preference for vowels. Okay, but Hebrew doesn't. Paul Allen would know all this about adding any. But some scholars and rabbis actually have noted that the letters YHWH represent breathing sounds, or aspirated consonants. Okay? When pronounced without intervening vowels, it actually sounds like breathing. Okay? You kind of, YH is, you kind of inhale, and WH, exhale. So, like that. Now, of course, I'm probably not doing it right. So a baby's first cry, his first breath, inhaling, exhaling, speaks the name of God. A deep sigh calls his name, or a groan or gasp that is too heavy for mere words. We groan, gasp, something like that is too, words don't describe it. And even an atheist could speak his name, just breathing. Breathe in, breathe out, unaware that their very breath is giving constant acknowledgement to God. Think about that. Likewise, a person leaves this earth with their last breath when God's name is no longer filling their lungs. So, when I can't utter anything else, is my cry calling out his name? Is my sigh calling out his name? Okay. And going along with that, being alive means I speak his name constantly. Think about that.
I've never heard that before.
I've never heard it before either. Like this is new to me too. I thought, wow. I saw this and wow, this is interesting. Okay. So when it is heard, when you're breathing, when it's quiet, when I'm the quietest, breathing in, speaking God's name. Yahweh, So in sadness, we breathe heavy sighs. In joy, our lungs feel almost like they will burst. In fear, we hold our breath and have to be told to breathe slowly to help us calm down. So fear, we're breathing, and we breathe the name of God. And when we're about to do something hard, we take a deep breath to find our courage. When you think about it, breathing is giving God praise, even in the hardest moments. So that's something to think about. I thought that was really neat. Anyway, okay. Back to Jeremiah chapter 6, and we're down in verse 6. The first 4 verses. I don't know if you can remember way back 2 weeks ago. The first 5 verses. Enemies. Nebuchadnezzar's army are Jeremiah is predicting, prophesying the enemies sent against Judah encourage themselves, okay, and we they would prepare war against her, telling that the enemies go up and destroy her palaces, let us go by night, getting the troops who are going to invade and destroy Jerusalem, getting them pumped up, and God is doing it. God is encouraging Nebuchadnezzar's troops, getting them pumped up to go and do what he wants them to do in Jerusalem. And so we come down to verse 6, and God directs the siege. He's got it all planned out. He has plans for the siege of Jerusalem. And here's how it's going to go, guys. Verse 6. For thus hath the Lord of hosts said, hew ye down trees and cast a mount against Jerusalem. Okay? Cut down the trees when you get into the land and you want to invade Jerusalem. You want to put a siege around Jerusalem. Clear down the trees, get them out of the way, and so that we can get our armies in there and camp. Okay, hew ye down trees, cast a mount against Jerusalem, and in those days, remember, one of the siege things they during a siege, the army that is sieging a city would actually build ramps up against the walls, okay, of the city, and that way they could get up the ramps. They could take battering rams up there. They could take the catapults. They do that, and recently on, let's see, one of the History Channel, Science Channel, they had a story about how the Roman army, destroyed in 70 A.D. when the Roman army went in and destroyed Jerusalem. I mean, they literally leveled the place. There's yeah, they literally. I mean. They tore down all of the temple. The only thing left of the Temple Mount is this one west wall, but they literally leveled the place. But then, a few years later, some of the escapees from Jerusalem went up to Herod's temple on top of this outcropping rock mountain there, Masada. They went up there. Okay, and they hid, and they were able to survive up there until the Roman army came again, and they built this huge, long ramp. That's what we're talking about. Cast a mount against Jerusalem, but they built this long ramp while they were surrounding this hideout, Masada. And that was, that's the picture here. Okay? Cast a mount against Jerusalem. This is the city to be visited. Again, he's telling Nebuchadnezzar's troops, okay, this is where I want you to go. The first time that in 605 BC, when this was written about 612 BC, which would have been 7 years before. Anyway, the first time Nebuchadnezzar came down, he was on his way to Egypt, remember? Remember that? And Jerusalem was just, collateral damage and didn't get destroyed that time. But then later, when Jeremiah is prophesying this, he's coming in. He says, I don't want you to go any further. You're not going to Egypt this time, Nebuchadnezzar. You're stopping right here. The previous time was when, a lot of captives were taken, Daniel and all of his, the 10,000 Jewish Jews that were taken captives then. But this time, this is the city to be visited. And you're only going here. She is holy oppression in the midst of her. The only thing holy, this is not holy as in Holy, this is altogether whole. She's just whole oppression in the midst of her. That's all that's going on in Jerusalem right now. Their sin and their idol worship and forgetting God. The reason they're going to go into this 70 years of captivity is because of their holy oppression and in the midst of her. And as a fountain casteth out her waters. Okay, this you can picture this. You've seen all the pictures of the fountains. Let's see. Oh, do we? We don't have any. We don't. No, there isn't an official city fountain downtown, is there? No, there's just the bowl. Just the bowl. But in a lot of city centers, especially the Italian cities in there, London has Trafalgar Square. They've got a fountain there. You get the picture. As a fountain casteth out her waters. This is a fountain, spewing water, and it helps keep the water cool or something like that. But keeps it fresh and agitated and all that. And that's the picture here. As a fountain casteth out her waters, so she casteth out her wickedness. Jerusalem. It's just that similar picture. Just nothing coming out, wickedness and sin all the time. Wickedness, violence, and spoil is heard in her. That's all you're seeing. And that's all God is seeing. Okay? And God says, before me continually is grief and wounds. Remember what the Bible says right back before the flood, Noah's flood. There was evil continually. Okay? That's the same picture. Grief and wounds. Be thou instructed, O Jerusalem. Here's a lesson. Here's some schooling. Here's some teaching. And Jeremiah is the teacher doing the teaching. Be thou instructed, O Jerusalem, God says, lest my soul, or God himself, depart from thee. Okay? If you take your classes, if you go to class and you study and you learn, okay, and you learn the lessons that you need to learn, be thou instructed, okay? We can turn this around. God is actually telling Jerusalem, hey, and warning him all through the, Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, all through the prophets. He's warning them, he's instructing them, he's teaching them. You can turn it around, guys, okay? And I will be your God, okay? And lest my soul depart from thee. If you don't turn it around, my soul, I will turn myself against thee. Yeah, this is, you know, again, they're on the wrong side of God. And you don't want to be on the wrong side of God. And my soul depart from, lest I make thee desolate, a land not inhabited. And that eventually is what is going to happen with Jerusalem. The whole city is going to be destroyed. And I don't, let's see, I can't really compare what Nebuchadnezzar does to Jerusalem with the way the Romans did Jerusalem in 70 A.D. I think the way the Romans did it, I mean, they leveled the whole city and burned everything. But at least when Nebuchadnezzar did it, there was at least something for the Jewish people to go back to after the 70-year captivity. There was something there that they could use to rebuild the walls. Remember, with Ezra and those guys? But, their land is going to become desolate, land not inhabited. Nebuchadnezzar probably sent, he would give some of his important people, princes in his kingdom. He would say, here's some land in Israel. You can have the land, it's free. Okay? Just go take it over, go farm it, and I don't think probably not very many actually did that because the land turned out to be not inhabited. In fact, if there was anybody left in Israel after Nebuchadnezzar went through, okay, they were poor farmers who would just barely scratch out a living, just enough to feed themselves in the land. And maybe a few, herders, sheep herders and stuff like that going through the land. But, okay, now come down to verse 9. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. God says it. It's going to happen. They, meaning Nebuchadnezzar's army, shall thoroughly glean the remnant of Israel as a vine. Okay? Now, they've gone through once, destroyed everything. Okay? Now, and like a lot of folks do, here today, there are a lot of folks who will go, into cornfields. Oh, and I have one lady, one of my regular customers of my apple cider making every year. She has a friend with an orchard down there in Yakima. She will go down, after they're done picking these apples, she will go down and glean the rest of the apples and bring them up for me to make cider. Well, that's the picture here. They shall, once the initial crops, and remember, Nebuchadnezzar's army, they're while they are sieging Jerusalem, they're eating off of the land. They're eating everything that the Jewish people raised, up to that time, and they're eating off that, and then they're going, not only they get the initial crop, but then they go to glean the remnant of Israel as a vine. And the folks that aren't taken captive to begin with, and who aren't killed in all of this, okay, then that's who are being gleaned by Nebuchadnezzar's army. They're going to be hunted down. Okay, there may be a lot of Israelites that escape, or there's also the ones that went into captivity, a whole bunch of them, and those remember 2/3 of the nation of Israel, 2/3 of the population of the nation of Israel at the time are going to die during all of this. You know, that's you know, the 1/3 includes anybody that may have escaped, that the captives who are eventually going to come back, but 2/3 going to die through with the sword or pestilence and famine. So they're gleaning the remnant of Israel. Turn back thine hand as a grape gatherer into the baskets. Okay? Fill up your baskets. You know, there's still stuff left over. That's what he's telling the army to do. To whom shall I speak and give warning, in verse 10? That they may hear. Who's going to be left that I can speak to and give warning? That they may hear. Behold, their ear is uncircumcised. Okay? God is speaking to them. They are not listening. Okay? You know, God speaks to us. We don't listen. Do we? And,
Is that what an uncircumcised ear is?
huh? Yeah. What?
I didn't get that.
Oh, yes. Behold, their ear is
It's uncircumcised.
uncircumcised. Yeah, it has not been, if you will, surgically changed. Okay, you know, they still have Gentile ears, if you want. Not listening. It plugged up. There we go. Yeah,
The next line says they cannot hearken.
yeah.
I'm going to assume he's here.
That's exactly right. They can't. They don't listen. They won't listen. And behold, the word of the Lord is to them a reproach. Okay? You know, God is telling them, hey, you guys are sinners. You need to listen to what I'm saying. Your sin is going to cause you trouble. You're on the wrong side of me. Okay? The word is to them, they have no delight in it. And that's their big problem is they don't care. They don't care what God is saying. Okay? And